Rachel Maddow, I think people should remember, is not a stupid person. She was once kind of smart. And she's just, but it's unbelievable how much Trump has made these people stupid. Like when you get, and I'm sure we've all experienced this in life, when you get too emotional and it makes you stupid. You know what I'm talking about? Like if you have a very emotional reaction to something, you're typically not being logical. You're not thinking things through. And it's unbelievable to watch her say this. First of all, like she's talking about the rise of authoritarianism. Like, what do these terms even mean? The rise of authoritarianism. Like, lady, our country was locked down and we all watched you cheer it on. So don't tell me you have this profound concern about the rise of authoritarianism. We've seen the most authoritarian policies debatably in our country's history, or at least like on the widest scale in our country's history. And you've loved it. Now, by the way, just to be clear here, it's like this is what these words mean nothing to them. Look, even if you were going to, let's say, defend lockdowns, I'm just picking an example because it's the easiest example to pick. But let's say you were defending lockdowns in 2020. And you were saying no, because COVID is such a health emergency, we need lockdowns. Now, forget the fact that we know that the lockdowns didn't work and all of this stuff. But let's just say that was your position, and you thought it was necessary to have lockdowns in order to slow the spread or flatten the curve or whatever. Then by definition, you are for authoritarianism. Now, you may think it's justified authoritarianism, but you're on the side of authoritarianism by definition. Like, that's what it is. And so for you to sit here and be like, we're concerned about the rise of authoritarianism. I mean, look at the country we live in. Who thinks we're not living through the rise of authoritarianism? And by the way, again, I'm not a Trump fan. Trump was very responsible for those lockdowns. I mean, he may not have been a governor who did it himself, but he certainly was cheering it on. He's the one who invoked the national emergency to begin with. He gave cover to them. He sent funding to the people who were doing the lockdowns. Like, he's responsible. But that's what this is: the rise of authoritarianism. The rejection of democracy as you're trying to get a guy removed from the ballot. Yes, I mean, it's just so cartoonish. Donald Trump is such a threat to democracy that we can't allow you the chance to vote for him. He's such a threat to democracy that he's dominating with the people, that he's overwhelmingly winning by this crazy huge margin democratically. Like, what does any of this even mean? But it's really interesting. The most interesting part of what she's saying there is that she goes out of her way to go like, look, Donald Trump always says this thing, and it's one of the things that resonates with his people the most. And there's a reason why it resonates. And the reason it resonates is because it's true. And what he says over and over again, and he says this in different words, but he basically says, they don't hate me. They hate you. And they hate me because I represent you. And Rachel Maddow here is just making that perfectly clear. She's literally saying the problem isn't just Donald Trump. The problem is that the people love Donald Trump, and that these people are overwhelmingly voting for Donald Trump, caucusing for Donald Trump in this case. But I love democracy, right? Like, the problem is that so many people are democratically supporting Donald Trump, and that's a threat to democracy. Whatever. If you can square that circle in your head, please explain it to me, and really talk slowly and explain it to me like I'm 5, because that's a pretty tough square to circle. But she says in there that the Republicans didn't used to welcome these people in, but now they do. But it's not as if, I mean, obviously there are, you have to be 18 to vote, and every year there's a new group of 18-year-olds. But really, I mean, if you look at the Iowa caucus breakdowns, that's a very small percent. It's not like young people are dominating the turnout in Iowa. That's not what's happening here. It's much older people, a lot more older people. And there's no evidence at all that this is like a whole new batch of people. And Donald Trump didn't win in 2016 by having a whole new batch of people vote. He won actually by flipping a whole bunch of counties that voted for Obama to vote for Donald Trump. That's what really happened here. So it's not that there's these people that the Republicans never used to go after before who they're going after now. For the most part, it's the same people who are supporting Donald Trump now. So what happened here? And of course, it's amazing. It's like all these years later, like, you look at these freak out compilations from 2016 and it's 2024 now. This is 8 years later. And they still have not had an ounce of self-reflection. It's really unbelievable. I mean, they are so insulated in their own bubble that they don't even question this bullshit. Like, she's just throwing out this word salad vomit of nothingness. There's authoritarianism, bad, democracy, good, racism. It's just nothing. Let's actually have a moment of self-reflection here, okay? The guy who is telling the voting base that every institution in this country is corrupt, down to the last election was illegitimate, and the guy who's being charged with multiple felonies right now. The people have no reaction to that. And if they have any I shouldn't say they have no reaction to that. They do have a reaction to that. It's to support him more because they believe that's so full of shit. Donald Trump has a huge percentage of the Republican voting base who believes he is the rightful sitting president of the United States of America. And if a whole bunch of different courts are saying he's charged with a felony, they're all corrupt. All the institutions are corrupt, and including the corporate media. They're also all corrupt. Why is that? Think about that for a second. Have an ounce of self-reflection. That's unbelievable. It's literally like if you it's something out of if your wife and think if you're the corporate media and your job is to speak on behalf of the people and shine a light on the powerful, or the sunlight is the best disinfectant, we hold their feet to the fire, whatever they would tell you their job is, or whatever you would be taught in a civics class that the role of a free media is, right? If that's your job, then your job is in service of these people. It's like my job, my most profound job in life is to be in service of my wife and kids, right? As a journalist, your most profound job in life is to be of service to the American people. So if one day I wake up and I go, hey, my wife and kids hate my guts. They hate me. And they don't believe anything I say. And if I tell them something, they believe the exact opposite of that. And then my response to that, right? My response to my wife and my kids hating my guts is to go, well, that's because they're evil. That's because they're racist. They hate democracy. They're authoritarian. You see how insane that is? How insane it is to not have how your first reaction wouldn't be some self-reflection. Whoa, what have I done wrong? I've clearly gotten this all wrong. Fundamentally, in the most profound way, I've gotten my life all wrong because my wife and my kids hate me. That I have to examine what I've been doing. Why is it that they hate me? If the corporate media were to if they were to just ask that question, it would answer that question. Why is it? Why is it that the country has gotten to a point where the very existence of a guy and the existence of this guy and this guy succeeding so dramatically, think about this. Just look at it on paper. The guy who is under multiple indictments, charged with multiple felonies, who everyone in the corporate media and everyone in Hollywood and everyone in academia and everyone in the establishment of both parties is telling you cannot be the guy, just walked away with 51% of the vote, while the other three people fought over the other scraps. He won by 30 points. It's clearly a rebuke of every institution. And that's not enough for you to go like, man, why is that so attractive to a lot of people? Rather than just labeling them all as evil. Because as soon as you ask that question, it'd be pretty obvious. You go, oh yeah, because we've gotten everything wrong. We've lied to the American people about everything. And we, as we were just saying on the last episode, we are in the business of protecting the powerful and betraying the American people. Maybe that's the reason why the guy whose existence is refuting you is doing so well.